All right, let's talk about a career that, honestly, is super misunderstood. We're going to go way beyond the headlines and figure out what a petroleum engineer actually does day to day.
So, when I say petroleum engineer, what pops into your head? Probably some rugged person in a hard hat, right? Out in a dusty field, wrestling oil out of the ground? Yeah. Let's just go ahead and tear that picture up right now.
Okay, so the expectation is totally the roughneck, the boots on the ground type. But the reality? For a lot of them, it's way more high-tech. Think project manager, data scientist, and master strategist all rolled into one. And their most powerful tool? It's not a wrench, it's a supercomputer crunching insane amounts of data.
So, first thing you need to know, it's one job, but it has many, many roles. The title petroleum engineer isn't really one single career. It's more like a whole team of different specialists.
Okay, so at its heart, the job is all about figuring out the smartest ways to get oil and gas from way down below the Earth's surface. These engineers are basically master problem solvers, digging through data to answer the big questions. Where do we drill? How do we get more out? And, how do we make this whole thing actually profitable?
All right, let's follow the whole journey from rock to reservoir. We're going to trace the flow from the very first plan all the way to actual production.
So this whole process really breaks down into three big phases, and each one has its own engineering superstar. First up, you've got the drilling engineer. They plan and drill the well. Next, the reservoir engineer steps in to analyze everything and predict what's possible. And finally, the production engineer comes in to run the show and make sure everything is running smoothly day in and day out.
Let's start with the drilling engineer. Think of them as the architect and the frontline commander of the whole drilling op. They're poring over geological data, designing these super detailed drilling plans, and a lot of the time, they're right there on site, supervising the rig crew. And safety, that is their number one absolute top priority. We're talking 24/7 operations where they have to make huge, critical decisions in the blink of an eye.
Okay, next up is the reservoir engineer. These are the grand strategists, the chess masters of the whole field. They're not just focused on one little well, they are looking at the entire underground reservoir. They use some seriously powerful software to simulate how the oil and gas will move around, predicting production years, even decades into the future. It's all about creating a master plan to get as much out as possible.
And then we have the production engineer. I love how one engineer put it. They're the practical side of the business. These are the folks who are watching the daily health of the wells, constantly tweaking things to get the best performance, and managing projects from square one. And this is huge. They're the bridge, the vital link between the suits in the office and the crew out in the field.
And all of this really brings us to what it's like today, the digital drill site. This is a world where, honestly, code and data are the most powerful tools you can have.
Yeah, seriously, the modern engineer's toolkit is almost completely digital. It's way less about scribbling calculations on a notepad and way more about using incredibly powerful software to model, predict, and manage these ridiculously complex systems. And this really shows you just how technical this job is. I mean, engineers are working with these crazy specialized software suites. You've got Petrol for 3D mapping, Eclipse for simulating the reservoir, Joule Suite for planning the drill. This is not Microsoft Word, okay? We're talking about a whole suite of heavy-duty analytical tools that are the absolute bedrock of the modern industry.
So because of all this tech, you end up with this massive split in lifestyles.
It's basically the office tower versus the oil rig, a tale of two totally different work environments.
Right, so you have the office engineer. They're probably working a pretty standard 9 to 5 in a downtown skyscraper, focused on all the planning and data analysis. Then you have the field engineer, and their life is, well, it's a whole other world. They're out on site working crazy long hours in an environment that never sleeps, usually on a rotational schedule.
Get ready for this number. Field engineers say their average work week can easily hit 70+ hours. 70. When you're on site, the job is everything. It's intense, it's high pressure, and yeah, you are always on call.
So how do they even manage that kind of intensity? It's all about the rotational schedule. The common ones are like 14 days on, 14 days off, or even 21 on, 21 off. It's a totally unique way to live, right? You go incredibly hard for 2 or 3 weeks, usually somewhere pretty remote, but then you get that same amount of time completely off to do whatever you want.
So what's the deal here? What are the trade-offs? Let's talk about the payoff and the price, weighing the amazing rewards against the pretty demanding reality of this career.
Okay, the rewards can be huge. We're talking high salaries, chances to travel all over the globe, and climbing the career ladder super fast. But
And this is a big but. The risks are just as real. This industry is famous for its ups and downs, which means layoffs are a constant fear when prices drop. The competition is insane, and the work itself, especially out in the field, can be really isolating and just plain tough.
Yeah, one engineer online just put it perfectly. It's a burnout industry. And you can see why, right? The combination of those long hours, all that pressure, and the boom and bust cycle of the business, it can really wear you down. This is a career that demands you be incredibly resilient.
And check this out. This quote really gets at that intense competition. It says, your coworkers become competitors covering their asses during downturns. It's this weird mix because while you have this amazing team spirit on the rig, when the industry hits a slump, jobs are on the line. And suddenly that friendly environment gets super high pressure as everyone scrambles to prove they're essential.
Okay, this next part is pretty wild. We heard from a bunch of working engineers, and get this, many of them said they use less than 5% of the specific stuff they learned in college on a daily basis. So what's the other 95%? It's all on-the-job learning. It's problem solving, managing projects, and just being able to communicate well. Basically, your degree opens the door, but it's your ability to think on your feet and learn as you go that really determines if you'll succeed.
So what's the future look like? I mean, the whole global energy world is changing, and you can bet the role of the petroleum engineer is evolving right along with it.
Think about it. The skills these engineers have, understanding what's happening deep underground, managing how fluids move through rock, and running these massive, complex projects, those skills are incredibly valuable. So the real question isn't if they'll have a role in the future, but how that role is going to transform as we face the challenges of a new energy world. So what do you think is next?